Hey guys, Peter is always saying that it is not about the gear, but today he's going to be talking to you about gear, going through a shoot that we did not too long ago where it was a nice even day and it was just a simple portrait against some rocks, and he used a whole bunch of different lenses, and now he's going to talk you through his thoughts about all the different lenses.
So this was the location we were doing the test at. You'll see it's got this beautiful bounce light off the sand, and we protected any down light by putting rah-rah against the cliff face, which had a lot of textures, and this was the whole reason I picked this area to do it. One, the stabilized light, and two, we had this incredible sort of detailed background. I wanted to see how different this was going to perform on different lenses. I spent about half an hour shooting with rah-rah with all the different lenses and the settings, just so I could get a decent amount of pictures that I could go through, make my decisions on visually do I like as a viewer, not so much on looking at it as a photographer, because I'm selling my photos to people who aren't photographers. So after culling them down to sort of the very best of the best, and you'll see some stars on, I'll go through that at the end, I just brought it down to here. This is just the black and white preview from the Sony. So this has had nothing done to it whatsoever. It's just the actual JPEG preview image out of the Sony. And because I was shooting in black and monochrome, that's what my preview is going to look like. So I'm just going to flick through these, and I just want you as a viewer to look at. And I'm going to flick back and forward a little bit just so you can see the difference and see if you can actually see any very big difference between any of these shots. And why I'm doing this is so you can start to realize that in a situation like this, is it the lens technical? Is it what you think you want out of a lens, or is it a lens that's the easiest for you to use so you can really concentrate on getting your picture or getting the best out of the model? And I've just flicked through all of these, and I just want you to really look seriously. Most of these pictures are great pictures. Well, they're pictures I really like. There's a couple of close-up pictures, but most of these pictures, it's about rah-rah, it's about the lighting, it's about the environment we've got it into, which has made these photos. So if I then cull these down to another level, if I just turn off all of my stars, so we only have, so these are the top 4 and 5 star pictures out of all of that, and now we have a comparison through these pictures, I would be 100% happy to supply any one of my clients any one of these pictures. As I'm clicking back and forth through them, the lens hasn't made this picture. As much as we all think, and we all get told this, we all get told about, you know, how sharp the lens has to be, edge to edge, all of this stuff. But really, does that make the picture in a portrait shoot like this? Or is it your comfortability to be able to get your exposure and focus and then get the model to be relaxed? So these are all the lenses I used for those pictures. So every picture I showed you were taken with this group of lenses. The first 4 or 5 were on the 70-200 Sony. The second 3 or 4 were on the Hasselblad 80mm. Then we have the Otis 100mm f1.4, sorry. And then we're on an f2 Zeiss 135. Then a little 50mm. The lens I actually used was the Zeiss Sonar, but I sold it, so just as a stand-in. I don't own it anymore. And then the last little group were on the little 35 Distagon from Zeiss. So I think the main thing I want to get to is when we're fairly close to a background and we have a nice even light, the lens is not playing a very big part in a portraiture style picture. I can understand when you're in long streets that are ugly, you're going to use bokeh or long lenses to compress it. But when you're just in an area where you've set up for a portrait shoot outside, the lens isn't as important as we all think it is. So at the end of doing this test, which is all the blue pictures, all the green pictures was Rara and I continued to shoot afterwards for about half an hour just to get some stuff for both our folios. These are all shot on the Sony A7r, and now that I've brought up this here, you'll see this is shot at 7.1 at a 70mm in length, and you'll see as I go through, you'll see that now we're on 200mm at 2.8. All right, you can see a fall off in the background, but that make the picture, like, it's a bit lighter because these haven't been perfectly corrected. They haven't had nothing done to them, they're just the previews. As I'm flicking through, these are just changing from 70 to 200 and changing the aperture from 7.1 to 2.8. Then I came back at the end and you'll see in here, you'll see that all different apertures and lengths. So I'm shooting at 100mm now at f8. It's a fraction dark, but that's just how I shot the first picture. But if I look through these are all at f8, and I'm shooting around the sort of 125, 30, that's down to 78, but I'm not changing the essence of these pictures. These pictures are just staying the same. So 2.8, 5.6. I don't think the 2.8 or the 5.6 made that picture any different. This is just what I was playing around with. And I think as photographers, sometimes we overthink all of this stuff rather than just getting into a zone with a lens that's working for you, and you can just concentrate on framing the picture, talking to the model and getting your subject to look amazing. And I'm as guilty as anybody else for having just way too much gear, and I love gear, but when I start looking at all of this stuff, I'm realizing that, that's it's more than sharp enough for what I want. And I had sharp pictures before off the Otis and things like that, but I don't need that sharp. None of my clients need edge-to-edge razor sharp. This is what camera companies want us to get into, so we buy their latest lenses rather than be happy with their incredible lenses they made 5 years ago. All these last pictures I've just showed you were all shot on the 70 to 200. They were just zoomed in or zoomed out. They're pretty much shot between f2.8 fully wide open to f5.6. Just to wrap up, making this video, and I actually filmed this 2 years ago, but I've been really looking carefully about the gear that I carry and the gear I own, and realized the gear is actually making my job harder because I have just too much. And I'm sitting there going, what lens do I take? Do I take this lens or this lens? Like, I've got 3 50mm lenses. Which one am I going to take? Why am I taking this? And this is just taking me away from taking photos. This is getting me more worried about the gear than worried about creating a great photo. Because as you can see in these pictures, this is on all different focal lengths at all different apertures, and all these pictures I'm 100% happy with. So at the end of the day, if I was going out and doing this shoot, I would have been so much better just carrying this one simple lens, not having to worry about changing lenses, wasting time. I could have just worked with this, then carry all of these lenses. I think at the end of the day, we spend way too much time on a shoot and before a shoot thinking about the gear we've got to take. Whereas if you just have the one piece of gear, you're just thinking about the picture you're going to take. And I think that will get you a better picture.
So we hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to see some other gear videos that Peter has done, I'll pop them on the screen now.